live?
I don't think we're live yet. I mean, we might be. Let's take a look.
We're live. Michael, where's your camera?
Where is my camera, actually?
Michael, where's your camera?
Where is my camera, actually?
Michael, where's your camera?
Where is my camera, actually?
Michael, where's your camera?
Where is my camera, actually?
Michael, where's your camera?
Where is my camera?
Michael,
It's like so much. Where is my camera? It's like so much. Where is my camera? It's like so much. Where is my camera? I should turn like so much. Where is my camera? I should turn like so much.
I just watched myself. I just watched myself. I just watched myself mute.
Wait, hold on a sec.
There you are.
Am I there? Wait, hold on a sec.
I see you on Twitch.
Wow. Oh, wow, shit. We've got like 100 and something people here already.
Something people are watching this bullshit.
I want to apologize from the outset.
Something to do, except I'm also doing it, so I also need something to do.
Okay. So I would like to welcome you all. Thank you very much for joining us this evening from the MIKEY room studio. I'm joined here today by Erik Carter, who is a graphic designer based in North America, and I'm also joined by Ben Miller, who is an American leftist podcaster, and we're here today. Before we dive into our subject, I just wanted to explain why I've got like this headset here. This actually gives you a full view of everything that I can see. Okay, so what I see with my eyes, you can also see through here, and it's wonderful to be talking with you today about the CIA. I think that we've got a really interesting show for you this evening. We're going to reveal who designed the new CIA branding. We're going to be answering some much vaunted questions. We're going to be having some special guests. And I think, Erik, you're in America, right? So this must affect you quite a lot because the CIA is actually American, right?
Yes, that's correct. According to my knowledge, I believe Ben can maybe answer this better. The CIA is actually based in America. I don't have a lot of interactions with the CIA on the day-to-day, but it definitely feels
because you work
with
the State Department, right?
Yes, that's correct. I've been in Washington now for about three presidential administrations. Throughout crossing both party lines, and fixing the fonts, typography, all sorts of things. I've seen all kinds. But mostly focused again, like you mentioned, on the State Department.
Wow. So I'm kind of interested. Like, what what is? So I think that's an interesting intersection between government and graphic design, in a lot of different ways, and I think that one of the most interesting ways that they intersect is actually through the discourse around graphic design. It's a sort of it's quite a beautiful sort of self-sustaining. I think of it as an orb or a balloon that sort of surrounds the practice, and I think that one of the best things since Emigre is probably the website Under Consideration, and particularly their subfolder on their website, which is called Brand New, and which is actually where a lot of graphic design is talked about, and I think that's really interesting. So I'm wondering, I think our first exclusive for all the people on the Twitch. I can see you all in the chat. I'm going to interact with you. We've got some nice messages there. We're going to reveal the entire text, the entire copyrighted text from Under Consideration, their review of the new CIA branding. So Erik, if you'd like to take that away. I don't know if you've got a screenshot that you can send to me so I can insert it so people can screenshot it and share it.
I'll send it to you on the Skype chat.
Sadface 00 to note that I will be playing the role of Redneck this evening.
We do.
The fact I am not a graphic designer, have a beard and weigh 50 to 20 more kilos than he does, not affect the fact that I'm playing.
I mean, Ben and David are pretty similar. Is there an echo?
Michael,
there's an echo.
Michael, yes. The chat is saying that whenever one of us speaks, there's an echo. I'm wondering if you maybe use headphones possibly. Might be the solution.
I think I can do this. In the meantime, wait, hold on a sec. I'm going to use the... wait. Everyone except for Michael is echoing. It's the exact same problem.
The only reason why everyone except for Michael is because we're wearing headsets.
I mean, I think definitely the CIA is at least watching or possibly connected to this live stream, and it's definitely interfering with the audio on some level. Absolutely, I think that's a fact.
I want to take a moment of Michael.
Is the echo better now?
The echo appears to be worse.
I hate streaming. I wish I knew how this all worked. Testing 543.
Am I still echoing?
Yes. Wow.
This is a big moment. This is a pog moment.
This is extraordinarily stupid. I apologize to all of you for how stupid this is.
Okay, how about now? Is that good?
Am I echoing?
Echo. Test.
No echo.
No.
We're out of echo. It's all over.
So
let's finish. Let's finish the live stream there.
I'm going to take the moment of no echo to tell my first anecdote about the CIA, which is that the 1979 revolution in Iran, the Iranian revolutionaries kidnapped the guy who was at that point the CIA's bureau chief in Tehran, and it took them several months to believe that he was in fact the CIA chief in Tehran because he didn't speak any Persian, and they didn't believe that the Americans would be so stupid as to have somebody there who didn't speak the language at all, but in fact didn't speak the language at all, and they were endlessly amused.
Was that particular operation a success?
I mean, there was a revolution in Iran, but...
Are we talking, is this 1979 or is this 1953?
This is 1979. This is 1979. No, it wasn't 1950. I believe it was the 1960s when the train full of CIA-funded people from the Ba'ath Party pulling into Baghdad had someone on it named Saddam Hussein, who then in 2003, the CIA would then lie and say that he had weapons of mass destruction, and he did not. And then because of that, the Iraq War happened, and we all know what a great decision that turned out to be.
I mean,
now could you possibly...
I think it was a necessary evil. I want to go on record as...
Sorry, I just... could you explain who Saddam Hussein is?
I am a very beautiful boy.
The chat wants to know who is Saddam Hussein.
I was going to say, we need to start from real basics here. So first of all, what is America? What is the CIA? Who are we talking about? Go.
So the CIA has its roots in, I'm going to be an earnest historian, Apologies.
Thank you.
The CIA has its roost in the post-World War II, this post-World War II moment, basically in about 1940, it was 1944. Sorry, 1944. Franklin Delano Roosevelt is entering his last, what is pretty much everyone knows is going to be his last term as president of the United States, because he is old and people know that he is old. And at that time, his vice president is a guy named Henry Wallace, a very earnest man who writes a lot of things about how the 20th century is going to be the century of the common man, and who is seeking to maintain this U.S.-Soviet alliance. The idea is that there's going to be basically social democracy and communism everywhere, and that's going to be wonderful, etc. Business leaders, you will be shocked to hear, do not like this. And so the much more moderate Harry Truman is against Eleanor's wishes, but FDR conceded to this, shoved onto the 1944 ticket along with Franklin Roosevelt. And the stage is set for the post-World War II beginning of the Cold War, in which, primarily due to the fear that big major interests of capital have in the United States about domestic labor unrest. Remember at this time that the Bolshevik Revolution is about 30 years old, so not, in people's kind of living memory.
Cool.
And also based on the needs of the military-industrial complex, the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, is formed, and hilarity ensues. The theoretical job of the CIA is to gather intelligence for the U.S. government on various foreign threats. Actually, they have always gone back and forth between hysterical evil and hysterical incompetence. Dwight Eisenhower, who is hardly a radical as president of the U.S. in the 1950s, ends his term in office with two Chad moves. The first being decrying the military-industrial complex, and the second being that he refers to the CIA as having left in its wake a, quote, legacy of ashes. And that's
Beautiful.
Kind of what the CIA
Wonderful.
has left in its wake. And yes, the person who posted in the chat the link to United States war crimes, very excellent job. I'm going to tell another hilarious bumbling CIA story, and then I'll shut up for a minute. But in 1969, when Richard Nixon came into the White House,
just to stop you there for a moment, 1969 is the year after the 1968 Mexico Olympics, which had the really nice graphic design. That's for all the graphic designers in the chat. Sorry, Ben, carry on.
That was
True.
Lance Wyman. He was a professor of mine, very kind man. I had a lot of complicated feelings about it due to the revolution going on at the time. But yes, fantastic.
And I very much feel that the Mexico 68 identity was fresh in people's memory. I'm just going to drag...
So the Mexico 68 identity was fresh in people's memory, and Richard Nixon wanted a sort of harder policy against the Soviet Union. And so the CIA made up a number of how many nukes the Soviet Union had just to make Nixon happy. And that overestimation was continued until the end of the Cold War. Basically, until the end of the Cold War, they just assumed that there was more. This is the intelligence agency, which, in addition to fixing elections across the world and leading to untold, the murders of untold Latin American nuns by reactionary paramilitaries, and also fixing bread prices in Canada, of course, failed to predict the Iranian Revolution of 1979, the Soviet Union's use of an atom bomb in 1949, the 1950 invasion of South Korea, the popular uprisings in Eastern Europe in the 1950s, the Cuban Missile Crisis, the 1973 Arab-Israeli War, the 1979 Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, the 1989 collapse of the Soviet Union, the invasion of Kuwait in 1990, the 1998 use of an atom bomb by India. All of these things were not predicted by the CIA.
They didn't
because the CIA
didn't predict
is
the Vela incident either.
Hysterically bad at its job, and that is maybe why they have selected a CT logo reject for their logo.
Yeah.
Now, is it true, Ben, that you were behind the fixing bread prices scandal not only a few years ago?
It is. It is. As an American living in Germany, and therefore someone who's very devoted to the transatlantic relationship, I of course, I actually am in the middle of getting a graduate degree at a university that was founded in American-occupied Berlin in the early 1950s. So really,
the early 1950s was
very close to me in
when
my
Josef
paycheck.
Müller-Brockmann was first pioneering his international Swiss style of graphic design for all you graphic designers in the chat.
That's correct. That's correct.
That's correct.
Yes.
So I feel that there's a
AG Cruise one. Thank you.
So one thing that that deeply worries me about the standing of graphic design as a profession is that in America or Germany? I'm sorry, we've got some traffic, and there's definitely no traffic here because this is in the middle of nowhere.
Apologies, that was New York City, classic honk.
Okay, so Erik, I feel that you need to proactively take steps to apologize to the audience for that egregious misjudgment. And I think the way that you can start that is by interrelating Ben's parted history of the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, and their history of a mixture of sublime evil and staggering incompetence, and really dovetail that with the activity, the spiritual calling of graphic design. And I'm wondering right now, does Under Consideration bring any of that history into their assessment of the new what's it called again? A CIA identity.
Right.
So let's take a look at that.
Yeah, I guess I feel like instead of trying to answer that question, because it was a fantastic question, of course, I can just go ahead and read the review from, I believe, Armin Witt himself wrote it.
Armin Witt, for those that don't know, Armin Witt shares a first name with Armin Hoffman, who is a Swiss graphic designer who is famous for graphic design.
He just passed away recently, I believe.
Wait, Armin Hoffman passed away?
Right? Unless
You're
I'm
kidding me. When did that happen? Fucking hell. I mean, he was
he was like 98 or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a surprise, but oh fuck, 18th of December 2020, and less than a month later, the CIA's rebranding comes out. F's in the chat. We have a positive torrent of F's in the chat. Let's hear it for Armin Hoffman, one of the good ones. Oh, this is beautiful to see.
Erik
Armin
and I
van
have identical
Helden.
classes.
He remixed in the 1990s. Armin Hoffman remixed "Professional Widow" by Tori Amos. It's a really nice track.
Armin Witt did a remix?
No, Armin Hoffman, but Armin Witt,
I
think Armin Witt was actually a really strong proponent of the Dao. Peter Daw's band.
Yes.
In the 1990s, but we can get to that once we've assessed the assessment. So, Erik, take us away. What have we got here? We've got words on the screen.
Yes. I mean, I think we should definitely listen to the Peter Dow track at some point later on. The popular one, I don't recall what it's named. But anyways, so yes. So this is a long piece, or 3 paragraphs, but long to read out loud. So I'm just going to dive in right here. Okay, so there is no valuable info behind this design, so in covert operation speak, we are flying solo. A number of news articles have propped up identifying this redesign as a diversity and inclusion effort to hire a more diverse range of people. This is easily supported by the number of people of color included in the launch graphics and across their website. So far, nothing too alarming, perhaps a little on the obvious side, but for a government agency that feels so out of touch with the general population, this seems relatively valid. What has gotten the internet in a frenzy and with good reason, might I add, is the misguided effort to make this all look cool and hip through the use of a bevy of EDM-like concentric line patterns that drown out all the graphics in random fading lines that simply look like they are trying too hard to be cool, and as the internet has spoken, they do not look cool. It's a shame that those lines have become so distracting, because if you get past that, there is a genuine design effort to make the CIA appear more engaging, has been re-rendered in a single color, and it hints that this could be a rather cool, badass seal if they had actually committed to redesigning it with properly redrawn assets. Everything could have stayed the same, but if the eagle was cooler, the type was better, and the Star Wars more assertive, then this could have been pretty damn great. And you can tell there was a design team behind this, because the new typography is all about that Grilly type, including GT America Extended for the short and long word marks, GT Sectra for the headlines, and GT America Mono for captions. Needless to say, that was probably the easiest pitch for a type license purchase. Boss, the font is called America, and it will say no more. Buy it, you patriot. None of the type uses
That's actually a really nice. That's a really nice turn of phrase. I think where credit is due. I wouldn't have made that connection myself, and I think this is the kind of insight that really does make it worth spending $20 to read. Brand new.
Exactly. There's in fact one more paragraph, Michael, if I continue.
Sorry, go
here.
ahead. Go ahead.
None of the type use is outstanding in any way, but it is highly competent, which is more that can be said for most government branding. Yes, it's trying too hard, and yes, it's easy to mock this because it's the CIA, but this is not terrible. Overall, the design is fine, but I think they took the wrong route strategically in trying to come across as cool when they should have embraced their darkness and gone with a full-on "we are the fucking CIA" identity that was dead serious and unrepentantly authoritative. That would have probably gotten them more respect and less mockery. And that's it.
I mean,
that's actually a good point.
I mean, again, there's nothing to fault here. I think that if you want to know what's going on in the world of graphic design, you should be checking out Brand New Under Consideration, the website where they talk about what's going on in the world of rebrands, graphics, and more. Now, I just brought up one of my favorite government agency rebrands. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the design agency responsible for it. But I really have a soft spot for this, I have to say. The use of very subtle compressed universe, I think, goes some way to addressing what Armin raises in that final paragraph there. This is a logo that says, "We are fucking DARPA. We invented resilience and networks and so on."
It's beautiful.
In your time at the State Department, did you ever do any consulting for DARPA, or ARPA as it's sometimes known?
Yes and no. I mean, they would often come to us and they would say, is this logo too big? Is this logo too small? Do I need to use maybe a different typeface for this? You know what I mean? Because oftentimes they were, they would be drone striking people. They would, be bombing various countries. And oftentimes, there's typography involved with that, because typography, I think, definition is inherently violent. So they were, doing things like figuring out the logos on missiles, various, the sort of letterheads for, they would send to, various dictators and whatnot.
Yeah. I think that's you raise a really interesting point, which is when you're working for these kinds of government agencies, you really get a lot of, really interesting but also really challenging use cases, different scenarios where you as a designer need to be really on the ball, and you really need to put into practice the various principles that you've learnt and how to apply those in a way that is strategically congruent with the organization or institution's stated mission, their purpose, and their strategy, and doing so in a way that ultimately not absolves you of any particular moral culpability, but which allows you to actuate your own potential with regards to...
We got some horns going on here again. I apologize.
That's wonderful. Can you shout at them?
I can't. I may actually. I'll close my window in a moment here.
That's wonderful.
But yeah, I mean, I think when you're doing this kind of work, you can't really think about the ramifications. You know what I mean? Like if you're doing the CIA logo redesign, you're not going to be thinking about what the CIA is, what they're doing, who they're killing, who they're bombing. It's just, is the typography good? Is the color good?
Yeah.
Is the line weight consistent? These are the really important questions, I think.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
not any of this political stuff.
I mean, I agree completely. And
politics out of it.
I mean, Ben, perhaps it's a good question to ask you, which is, if you were to choose a new font for the CIA, which new font would you choose?
Well, I mean, I think that given that the incoming Biden administration is set to follow the Obama administration's record of fixing everything, I would.
For those that don't
Gotham,
know, Gotham, Gotham is actually the font that Obama used in 2008 for the Hope posters, and it was designed by Jonathan Hoefler. It's Hoefler fonts.
I believe. Excuse me. That's Gotham was designed by Tobias, I believe.
It's actually you're wrong. Because I've got the website up. I've got Jonathan Hoefler's website up here, and I can buy it there. And I don't think I don't. And sorry, Ben, I'm going to stop you there. I have a bone to pick. I have a bone to pick with you, Eric. I don't think I'd be able to buy Gotham from Jonathan Hoefler if he hadn't designed the font. What do you have to say?
Right. You got me.
Ben.
I need to. I'm once again asking you, Michael, to allow me to finish a sentence. I would like to introduce to this conversation an article from Fast Company about Joe Biden's design team.
Please, yes.
A wonderful article about a very real thing that actually happened. The headline of this article is called "Design for All Americans: How Biden's Design Team Helped Defeat Trump." And the subhead is "Making sure that marginalized communities felt heard and valued was critical to senior creative advisor Robin Canner and Deputy Design Director Karana Magwood." Robin Canner, who is a trans woman, and Deputy Design Director Karana Magwood, a black woman and single mother. The article goes into the fact that in 2020, quote, "Finding common ground seemed like a tough sell, and designing for broad appeal is actually much harder than it looks, especially because Americans have never been more divided." So, the article asks, how do you design a brand that speaks to people with such different beliefs? The campaign needed a brand that would effectively communicate Biden's message without confusion. The branding conveyed the value of Biden's America: strong, bold, unified. It also reinforced campaign slogans like "truth over lies" and "unity over division," which made a case for Biden as a stabilizing force in a world gone haywire.
So do you think that...
One of the things I'm proud of was we never designed for designers, Canner said. We always designed for the American people.
So that's interesting, because I thought when the CIA rebrand came out that it might have been, new Biden team coming in and changing things up, emphasizing different aspects of the agency's mission and purpose and so on. But what you're saying there, because this for me this rebrand really feels like designers design. You know, like this is graphic design for the design heads. Like this is you know your fonts. You know what you're doing. You've got like some really nice references going on in different parts of your practice, and you know you can show that to the world, which I like. I like that because I think that is part of design.
I agree, and I would bring in another quote from Robin Kanner, which actually involves someone we've recently mentioned. Quote: The Biden-Harris logo wasn't meant to be an icon in either sense of the word. Rather, Kanner and type designer Jonathan Heffler, ding, whom Kanner brought on board to develop the campaign's typographic system, decided to refine the existing word mark Biden used in the primaries. They reworked the word mark with decimal, one of the typefaces from the campaign designed by Heffler and inspired by wristwatches. Kanner calls it, quote, as true as time. Quote, it was an unusual inversion, allowing the typography of the message to dictate the design of the logo, but I think it worked, Heffler explains. Everyone felt that this was a campaign that genuinely had a lot to offer to people on the margins, and there was nothing to be gained by trying to dazzle them with our cleverness. So I think that the CIA also has a lot to offer to people on the margins, like bombs being dropped from unmanned aerial drones. And so I think that this design really captures the ways in which that works. To the person in the chat who says that I sound like Jonathan Heffler,
I mean, you actually do a little bit.
Here, and I think that's you're really showing your anti-Semitism here.
I actually think Ben, did you know that? I mean, there's another thing which I do want to say at this point, which is that a typeface is not a collection of beautiful letters. This is correct. It's a beautiful collection of letters, and there's a really big difference there, and I just want to point that out. And I think that does connect to the CIA. We've got
the person who just asked about underground
I was
aesthetics.
Just about to say that's a really interesting question. Does this?
I want to raise a serious point here.
Ben, what do you? I would say at the moment, I think that my perspective is the most important. Eric's is the second most important, and then Ben is the third most important. So we'll go in reverse order of importance, and Ben will go first in answering that really good question. But bear in mind, like, what Erik says next will be more important than that, and then finally what I say after Erik will be more important than that. So as long as we're clear on that, let's continue. So Ben, underground aesthetics, is there going to be a shift?
My last name, Kadzi, is Miller, and I am at Ben Writes Things. Is there going to be a shift? I think that what this does point to, which is interesting, is I think that if the CIA's Rebrand can immediately look like a techno festival in Berlin, that then does, I think it raises some interesting questions about the degree to which we have all, by not talking about aesthetics, kind of sublimated everything to it through the back door. And I think that we, by not talking about aesthetics enough, have sort of paradoxically turned everything into aesthetics. And that I think a lot of the signifiers that many people still rely on to sort of decide whether things are good or not good are as unreliable as the CIA is incompetent. And I don't think it's a question of appropriation, obviously, as someone in the chat has hopefully joked. But anyway. Yes, thank you to Dean Knows. Fascism tends towards an aestheticization of politics, and that is what we are just all doing all the time in order to fight fascism.
Can I just, like, I do want to take that to task, because that's not actually true. Wait. Oh, wait, no, that's true, actually, yeah.
Also, I want to say that as the grad student in the humanities in the conversation, it is my job to obnoxiously overpronounce Walter Benjamin.
It's from the text. It's from the author as producer, which is a really good text that was written in the context of its time in many ways, but which is also historically transcendent. So that's what Ben thinks about underground aesthetics. What do you think, Erik?
Yeah, I mean, I think seeing that the CIA co-opt these underground aesthetics in their branding and sort of become, at least aesthetically, a sort of, club in Berlin or what have you. I mean, I think what the shift we're going to see is that organizations like the CIA are going to start becoming more like clubs in Berlin, perhaps. Yeah. Like, I think you're going to start seeing CIA raves.
Yep.
Maybe seeing, the FBI throwing sort of maybe underground type parties. The White House may possibly be painted black. There might be a doorman at some point. You know what I mean? I think, various headliners, possibly something might be going on in the basement.
Yeah.
I think just drug use will start to be, because often you see that you've heard of the CIA, testing people with drugs and psychedelics and, K Ultra and whatnot. And I think, you're going to start seeing the CIA start to do those drugs themselves. And I think that's really kind of the shift that we're going to start seeing, is that the CIA is going to become its own sort of club, and the one that is welcome to all Americans as well.
I mean, I not to interrupt, but like I also do kind of feel that that actually a lot of contemporary culture is a psyop, and we should be cognizant of that. So it's not. So I think you're right, Erik. Absolutely. Like, yes, we are going to see, the clubbification of the intelligence community, and I think that that's a positive move. That's a step in the right direction. But I also think that that's not necessarily, this radical departure from what went on before. I think that it's, in a way, it's a coming home. Like, for example, like, I'm pretty sure that, you look at, like, any, electronic beats or fact magazine or whatever, and, like, you look at, like, these people's studios, like, you don't make that kind of money just doing the bloop, 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 bloop music. No. I actually think that most people that use modular synths are either intelligence assets or they're in on it. I think that Ricardo Villalobos is COINTELPRO, and I think that he is MIKEY Ultra, and I think that we're headed. I mean, we've just had the Great Conjuncture, so I think that we're going to really see different consciousness in the world. And Ben, do you agree about this?
I mean, I think that
I think
we're
yes or no
into an astrological.
Ben, it's a yes or no. It's a
perhaps.
yes. It's you need to come down hard on this question. I'm putting you on the spot. I'm going to put you right in the middle of the stream. I'm going to put you right on top. Ben, I'm going to zoom in on. I want a yes or a no from you, Ben. Okay, we're going to cut live now to our next segment.
Yes.
Let's see. I think that we've managed to identify the designer.
Yes. Yes. I
okay.
said yes.
Yes.
I will, yes.
Good. Okay. That's good. So.
Thank God.
Okay.
Finally.
So Ben, how much would you charge for entry into a CIA club night?
I would charge one Predator drone.
I love it. I
mean, I
Thank you, Green. I also feel sorry for myself.
I mean, I think we all know that
myself ever since I agreed to this bullshit.
Thank you.
Ben, I have to cut you off here. Ben, you're not making any coherent points at this moment. I mean, we all know that Warp Records had an office in the CIA building.
They did.
The mid '90s, after their intelligence dance music compilation came out. The CIA invited them to come over, and they, really, I think, hit it off per se. And a lot of the actual 12 inches that were pressed by Warp in the early 90s were pressed out of DC in the vinyl production plant in the CIA base.
Ben, you're American. Have you ever been to Langley?
Well, I have not been to.
Erik, have you ever been to Langley?
I haven't. I grew up near. I mean, where's Langley? I don't know where Langley is.
It's in Virginia.
Oh yes,
I've driven past actually the
it.
same state that the post-rock band LaBradford came from.
Yes, LaBradford came from Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah.
I grew up in Charlottesville, Virginia, which is 1 hour away. Virginia, lots of fantastic music coming out of Virginia, and a lot of fantastic members of the intelligent community as well.
It's I think that like the effect. I mean now we're talking really more like we're talking less about graphic design practice and we're talking more about the overall culture, like the cultural influence of the CIA, which obviously, in the 1950s, it begins with great support for abstract expressionism and Susan Sontag, I think. And then later on, it drifts into acid house, that covers sights and sounds, which are audio-visual cultures, which are done by the CIA. But I'm wondering, are there any other different kinds of cultures? So, for example, fashion or sensory cultures, such as what's the most intelligence community food, in your opinion, Ben?
The stereotypical intelligence community food would be the stereotypical American food, which is anything that involves a lot of meat and is slightly too wet.
So that was a trick question. The actual answer was scorpion meat, because the CIA wrote The Winds of Change.
That's correct.
I think it's one of those like glistening buffets.
I think so. We have a suggestion that Pan Am
just like incredibly wet ham. Ooh. Like a large and very, very wet ham.
Delicious. That's what I had for Christmas, actually.
I had a wet brisket.
That's like ham, but kosher, I think.
Yeah, it's Jewish. I actually want to make an important point. My friend Shira Inbar, she made this point where talking about how, this is a serious point here, how the CIA rebrand was, inspired by a lot of this sort of like, dystopian graphic design aesthetic, which in fact, what I think, was also possibly inspired by military aesthetics. A lot of the sort of like military branding from the 60s and 70s and whatnot, these sort of extended grotesques you see on like military uniforms. It kind of feels like a closed loop. It feels like the CIA has finally come home.
A grand return.
Being
being
inspired
it's
by...
a little bit like it's a little bit like Underground Resistance is the classic example of reappropriating like very sort of like faceless militaristic aesthetics for an overtly revolutionary purpose, and I feel that this is sort of like it's percolated and gradually been sort of like photocopied to the point where it's no longer recognizable, and there is a sense of return. Who do we think did it?
I think you did it.
Yeah, you did it. It was you.
It was me. That's right. That's the punchline. And I would do it again in an instant, because I love working for the intelligence community. I a card-carrying citizen of America. and I love my country, and I want my country to have not only air dominance and sea dominance and earth and fire dominance in operations. I also want my glorious America, my beautiful darling America, to have graphic design and modular synth dominance.
Now, Michael, are we going to is our special guest going to join us later?
I'm desperately trying to get a special guest. I think that theoretically our special guest is actually in the Skype that's feeding into OBS. But I think that it might be an old burner Skype account, which gives me great pause for thought. My only hope is that he's not actually in the Skype, because if he is, he might have been calling out to us, trying to add, some points, some ideas, and failing because we've got him on mute and we can't see him.
Oh, interesting.
Sort of like the end of the film Being John Malkovich, where he's like where he's there.
Yes, Berghain is COINTELPRO.
Berghain is COINTELPRO. I almost got a side gig doing security at Berghain as part of my work for the State Department, but that was through a third party. So my employer wasn't the actual State Department. It was McKinsey or something like that. They do all the club security in Berlin.
That makes sense. Now, Ben, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Is there any CIA files in existence on any sort of techno or electronic musicians that you're aware of? I know, there's various musicians in the 60s and 70s where they were doing COINTELPRO on, but if anything more like electronic music related that you are aware of in your studies.
Do you like electronic music?
I do like electronic music. One fascinating thing is that the CIA, just like they were funding ABEX, was also funding the electronic music program of study and sort of school that formed around Darmstadt in Germany in the 1960s and 70s. So
is that people like Konrad Schnitzler and?
That is people like Schnitzler. There's people like Stockhausen, among others.
Stockhausen, Schnitzler.
But in the same way that they're funding ABEX as a way of, in the same way that they're funding ABEX.
Kraftwerk. What do we think? So Wiener Schnitzel, Schneiderlens. The CIA didn't. Okay, so this is something I want to clear up. Somebody in the chat is saying the CIA invented Deep House.
To green. That is Germans.
That is emphatically not the case.
100% of them are the really racist.
Deep House. Deep House emerged organically as a function of the working class within and against capital. If you want to understand Deep House, you really need to read Franco Berardi and Antonio Negri, and you can interpolate with the story of Italy in the 70s, autonomy and so on, very, very easily with the story of Deep House. It's there's a lot of striking similarities going on there, and if you want the potted history, I would suggest watching the classic film The Working Class Go to Heaven. So finally, I'm wondering, what will be the economic impacts of the CIA rebrand that I've done?
I think it's going to lead to an enormous recovery in retail clothing sales because of all of the many T-shirts and fanny packs and bum bags that are going to be now distributed and designed, featuring your wonderful CIA rebrand. I think they're going to become the hot club accessory among circuit gays who are having plague graves on sinking boats in Puerto Vallarta by the end of 2022. And I think that by the end of this year, they're going to be being worn by all of the most fabulous and fashionable blown out Russian muscle twinks. I can't wait for the GmbH selection.
I'm very excited.
I think that's going to be really wonderful, except it's going to be bad when they don't pay the CIA's invoices. And I think in general,
really cool. Do you think we're going to see?
It's going to be just, it's really just going to be wonderful.
We're drifting a bit far away from the intelligence community now, but do you think that we'll see something like a sort of fashion Cold War going on between GmbH and Vetments?
Yes, because Vetements are going to do the MI6 collab, and
that's awesome.
Post Brexit, Tory Britain is leaving the Transatlantic Alliance, which is the source of all world stability, and they're joining with Russia, which is really bad. So I think that Russian gay club nights like Pop-Off Kitchen are going to join with Boris Johnson and Priti Patel and Vetements to do a sort of MI6 related questions, and then the GmbH transatlanticist Merkel Biden CIA collection is going to be sort of collaborating with it.
Now, someone in the chat is Cadsey said Balenciaga Aga. Like, funny to note that CIA is actually part of the Balenciaga name.
I mean, Eric, this is another classic example of what in the business we call a mind smile. Or a smile in the mind if we're not in a hurry, which is never, because graphic design is a very high-pressure profession, and it's, you want to save as much time as possible in communicating with other people, so you don't say smile in the mind. What you say is a mind smile. And that is very much what's going on there with, I can't remember the thing that we just talked about.
Balenciaga.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Ben, if you're not understanding us, the classic smile of the mind example is the FedEx logo. There's in fact an arrow pointing things forward, hidden in there, secretly. And when you see it upon revealing that image to yourself, your mind smiles. And this is kind of the sort of the euphoria that designers kind of try to attain with their work, which I think it is rarely achieved.
What's aside from Balenciaga, what's your favorite mind smile?
I mean, I think the FedEx logo is a classic one. I'm trying to think. I mean, I think it doesn't get much better than the FedEx. I mean, because movement, shipping, arrow,
logistics, supply chains, union busting.
Oh yes, someone's saying the Amazon logo is in fact actually a smile, which I think
Hillary logo
that's actually
also,
that's a real misconception. Like actually, it's not a smile; it's an arrow going from A to Z.
Gummy-san, I also want my hour back, so thank you. And I'm participating in this more than you are. So
I mean, if you want, Ben, like we can have you replaced. Do you want us to have you replaced? Is that what you want, Ben?
And just like the last yes or no question, I'm not going to answer it.
Is that a perhaps? Okay, what I'm going to do is we have...
Why don't you add David Rudd, because that's only going to make this less silly.
Now, wait, where is she? There she is.
I don't know.
Okay,
can we go back and bleep the name he just said?
Yeah, don't worry, we can fix it in post.
Was not supposed to be revealed. I was wondering if can we possibly edit that in
working?
Post? I don't know.
I think it's... What about now? No? Okay,
I'd like to thank my many fans in the stream.
Oh
my god, there's Zoom too?
There's Zoom as well, yeah. I'm like stressing out my computer.
I agree, Dean. We do need fewer graphic designers.
David, if you can hear me, clap your hands.
again, we need to stop revealing the identity of this individual.
Wonderful.
Because I feel like they are wanting to be anonymous.
They are, but wait. I'm also. I mean, it's wonderfully anonymous because I can't actually add them to the thing. So what I'm going to do, David, if you speak out loud, perhaps I can hear you.
Again, we're gonna have to go back and edit that name out because
subject guest.
It's after David Rudnick. It's David Rudnick, the editor of the New Yorker magazine.
Yes, that's the one. Wait, if I move my virtual reality headset very close to the computer, like
there he is.
I think David, can you speak for us as a test? We have no sound. David, what about now? I can only surmise that David is protesting his innocence. And
Michael, join the audio in Zoom.
I can't do that. This is such a disaster, but at the same time, I think it's somehow very beautiful. We're so used to, perfection in graphic design. For example, a really beautifully done
Michael, you have to join the audio in Zoom in order to hear it.
Or we spend a week choosing the right color, and then we forget that all of this can come crashing down in a moment, and it's so, azure.
Now, what's David's got some sort of sign? Azor, yes.
Okay, so what we can do is we can speculate. Okay, if we treat this as a sort of game of charades.
Michael, you literally have not joined the audio in the Zoom call.
I can't join the audio in the Zoom call.
Okay.
Oh wait.
Well, then...
Yes. What about now?
Well, now if you scream, we can't hear David.
Okay. Chat, can you hear David?
David, say something.
David said something.
We can't hear him.
Hold on. Now the chat says you have to put the audio in OBS. While you do that, I would like to show the chat a beautiful piece of graphic design that I have here in front of me. But I can't.
Wonderful. I'm just very mindful that I don't want to start like the multiple echoes that we had going on before. I
mean, David could send us messages and we could just say them out loud if he doesn't want to speak.
Wait, here's the graphic design. It's the book
yes, Klaus
in its wonderful German translation. It's really pretty.
It's beautiful.
It's also a good book.
Whenever I add you to the thing, David, David suggests that we've been captured by a transnational intelligence agency, such as our employers, the Central Intelligence Agency.
Now, David, can David simply just join on Skype? Would that be a possibility?
That would be simpler.
Okay, David, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a tremendous pleasure and honor.
I am also never going to interact with graphic designers after this stream. So
I mean, I feel like we've learned a lot about graphic design, and more than just graphic design, like also the intelligence community. tonight, and I think that's quite beautiful if you think about it.
I would like to invite anyone who is, for some untold reason, still listening to this to, I don't know. No, none of us can do anything worthwhile with our time. It's fucking lockdown everywhere. We live in hell world, so never mind.
Shall I try and how about I try and complete the video game Cyberpunk 2077 while you guys carry on talking, like ask each other questions. Ben, ask Erik about graphic design. Erik, ask Ben about the history of the Central Intelligence Agency, and I'll get that live. Cyberpunk 2077. Here we go.
Graphic design is a fraud perpetrated upon the world, and you should spend a lot of time selecting a penis on Cyberpunk 2077, because that's the only thing that could make this even stupider.
Now, Michael, I have one last question for you before you go full cyberpunk. Now, do you think the CIA rebrand was real? Did it exist or did it not exist?
Well, I mean, it's funny you ask, because like this morning on the group chat, like people, like my friend asked me, like, what's your hot take on the CIA rebrand, and the only take that I could think of was like it didn't happen. There was no rebrand, and I think that is actually a hill that like I'm content to die on. Because like I mean, if you think about it, like it's not really a rebrand at all. Like it's just like a bullshit font, and like there's it's just 3 letters on black. You know, it's not designed. Like, you know, the client's not getting its money's worth, and I don't think that's good. Like I don't think it actually is. It's not a brand. It's just words and colors.
That's an interesting point.
It's I mean it's you know, like it's just vibes. Okay, so these guys can one shot me, so I'm gonna put the microphone down.
Lawrence, the CIA have not targeted gamers, but they should.
I think the CIA should possibly end gaming.
I died.
And
yes, targeted drone assassinations of gamers and graphic designers.
I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, I think one point I want to possibly expound on is that this CIA rebrand might possibly be the logical endpoint for graphic design. Like, it's...
Why do you think that?
Well, because it's, you know, quite possibly one of the most nefarious human rights violators in the world. Most nefarious government agencies, of course, using a cool font. You know, and I think it just feels like the end of something. You know, I feel like this feels like the logical endpoint of graphic design. I feel like it has gone as far as it could have. We've had a good run, and I think this is it.
Just to add to the end of design discourse here, I want to continue reading from the Fast Company article. The Rising Sun logo became the shorthand for Obama, but in Biden we already had a convenient and recognizable handle, Biden, Heffler says. So instead of creating something completely new, Heffler focused on getting minute details right, like giving the Biden and Harris names equal weight.
Were they really given equal weight? Like
they were. Also,
I think they should have been like on top of each other.
COVID-19 plane onto hand sanitizer. Oh my God! The Michael, you need to put the Joe Biden Lady Gaga Battle for the Soul of the Nation event image into the
Is that on Skype
here.
Perhaps?
I'm posting it onto the Skype right now so that you can put it in there, because I think that was also the end of design. What
if it's not the end of design? It's just it's just the end of
Quote.
What if it's
quote, 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 quote,
it's
quote.
what we
The
think
campaign also
what we
designed
think
what
design could become in the future has ceased to be itself, but that in itself opens the door for design to become something other than itself with regards to what it thought it was previously. And if what it was previously could not become what it wanted to be in the future, then it's not necessarily death, but what actually is it other than a hologram projected on the edge of the observable universe, which means that none of us ever really die, because when we die, we just become pure information projected on the edge of the observable universe because the holographic principle means that you can never destroy information. You can only change information, which is a lot like graphic design.
I just wanted to read another quote here, if I might, from the same article. Michael, I have placed a link to the design in the chat. But the quote.
So we've got a question in the chat. Is this satire?
No.
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 Here's what I'm going to... Yes, I am pure, and I am your king. Quote, the campaign also designed what Cantor jokingly described as, quote, the queerest bus in the world, a campaign bus with a, quote, luscious and vibrant gradient, which drove through Arizona and California. As additional ways to reach the youth and black vote, they released apparel collaborations with graphic designer Joe Perez and Aurora James, founder of the label Brother Velles and the 15% Pledge. This not only highlighted the creative perspective of people of color, it highlighted collabs, already a trend among fashion and lifestyle companies, as a political trend, showing that even Biden himself might be older. His campaign was in tune with young people. And so that plus this Biden Lady Gaga image, I think that yes, which is currently visible for you, I think that Joe Biden's campaign actually heralded this and the end of graphic design. And then I think that the CIA has only, like, Joe Biden was the Berlin Techno Festival of the end of graphic design, and CIA was the CIA of the end of graphic design, in such as it is appropriating the end of graphic design from Joe Biden, who, just as the CIA is the taskmaster of Berlin clubs, is the death of this metaphor.
Beautifully put.
That's really beautifully put. So,
and everyone, make sure to go to iwillvote.com.
iwillvote.com. I mean, again, I remain resolutely optimistic that graphic design will live forever.
I mean, I think this will signal a rebirth of graphic design and typography as a whole, because I think seeing that we've reached its logical endpoint, that it really can go no lower than, possibly a Joe Biden, Lady Gaga collab. I think the only way now is up. And I think what we're going to see is a real rebirth in typography, in form, in color, in type design, poster design, what have you. And I think it's going to be really quite glorious in 2021. Yeah. And I, for one, am actually quite optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, I love posters and I love poster design, and I'm really looking forward to getting back to that. And
me too, and I think that, if we think about iconic and wonderful and politically great graphic designs like the Keep Calm and Carry On poster, this current COVID crisis is going to lead to some really fabulous kind of posters that we're all going to have on our walls. And
I mean, I think it's going to be like it's going to be like in the 60s, like when the CIA first got its proper graphic design. Like there was a lot of really good protest music. And I think what we're going to see is a lot of really good protest graphic design from, not only from individuals, but other institutions, other government agencies, who are not necessarily, protests in the classic sense, but protest in the sense of, speaking your truth and being honest to honoring your personhood through the poster, and I think that that's very exciting to consider. And I'm wondering, like, what kind of speaker setups do you guys have?
Do you want to begin, Eric?
Yeah, I have not very impressive, but I believe it's just some Audio Technica. I believe is the brand A2s that I got someone on Slack for $20. I know you are a big fan of monitor culture and viewing DJs, stereo systems and whatnot. I have a much better setup in my living room where I have a turntable and a cassette player. With some very nice speakers.
I actually, it's funny you mentioned that, because I actually thought, like, what if the CIA made their own, like, CIA branded slip mats? That would be really nice, I think.
I mean, you just put the CIA seal on
Yeah,
there.
exactly. Like, I mean, everything that
fantastic.
I think maybe that's one of the reasons why people thought that, this was a music thing, is that a lot of the graphic design that they had was circle.
That's very true. Yeah. I actually want to go back to an earlier point that Ben was making.
Oh God,
Ben, please, Ben. So you were saying that the CIA was funding the Stockhausen school back in the 60s. That's correct. Stockhausen, we know, was hugely influential with the krautrock, Kosmische music community. And Can and Kraftwerk as well. So, and I think Kraftwerk, and this is widely disputed accurately as being the founders of electronic music. Due to Yellow Magic Orchestra and things like Detroit. But do you think the CIA is really the true founders of electronic music, not only in Germany but worldwide?
I mean, I can personally answer this question, but I'm gonna let Ben answer it because he's the historian.
I'm fine to the people asking in the chat. I'm just doing the sort of beauty queen oxygen mask where you're so overwhelmed by the wondrousness of an occasion that you're just overwhelmed, and it's just all you can do to kind of keep it in. Yes, the CIA is certainly the founder of electronic music, as was once explained to me actually by one of these strange creatures in Berlin that we call Antideutsche, and the Antideutsche are tankies who love Israel.
They're actually,
I think they're really cool. And so, one of the Antideutsche tankies who love Israel, and they love America too, by the way. No, but one of them explained to me that he thought that techno had been a psyop to take the youth and distract them from political action.
Well, I mean,
I 100% agree.
No, it's completely correct.
Just as I agree, that with the Antideutsche, that the only good way to do anarchist politics is to love the IDF and also the American military.
Now,
I mean, I don't think there's anything to disagree with there.
I think the Twitch user Marcaroni is saying notes that "You're Losing Your Vitamin C," the popular Can song, could actually be, "You're Losing Your Vitamin CIA."
I wish I was making tankies who love Israel up, but Antideutsche. Actually, one of the no, it's not one of the better clubs, but it's one of the Berlin clubs that has one of the better gay parties, which is called Buttons. The club is called About Blank, and it's run by these Antideutsche, and it's really sad.
It's really weird because, like, I mean, speaking seriously for a moment,
I mean, honestly, to God, wish that was a joke, but that's the stupidest thing anyone here has said, and it's true.
Speaking deadly serious for a moment, like, one of the weird things about Antideutsche is that they are, like, 92%, like, really sound. Like,
I named the face is Ben Miller at Ben Writes Things.
At Ben Writes Things. Follow. Thank you, Ben, so much for joining us here as a voice of reason in a sea of graphic design chaos.
I just want to
great to have you.
I want all graphic designers to be nuked tomorrow.
I mean, that's interesting. I mean, that leads on to my next political position, which is that I do think that everybody should be given their own personal nuke, and that would force a kind of Deleuzian fractal mutually assured destruction on a unprecedentedly granular level, which I think would make things very, very interesting.
May you live in interesting times.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is the chat is getting too horny. Stop talking about Call Me by Your Name.
I think it's
Ben. I just want to apologize on behalf of the graphic design community, and I just for getting you involved in this.
I want to say that I was of graphic designers born.
Yeah. Ben's mom is a graphic designer.
She is. So.
And
yes,
so am I.
One of her clients is making the new antibiotic against gonorrhea. So yay!
That's wonderful.
I mean, I think we can all agree that
no,
gonorrhea.
She did not design the CIA logo. I can guarantee that.
I mean, seeing as we got onto gonorrhea, what's the longest either of you have ever had gonorrhea for?
I'm not discussing that on this chat.
It's entirely respectable, and I honored that.
I believe I thought I had it, and then I did not. Yeah. So I've never been infected.
I mean,
I got tested and it was negative.
Yeah.
So thank.
No, I mean,
thank
like that's.
Lord.
I mean, given everything that we know about the CIA and how they operate, like I don't think that there's any surprise that you weren't sure about whether it was gonorrhea or chlamydia or nothing at all, or non-specific urethritis. I mean,
right.
We given everything that we know, and I think that the new spirit of openness from the CIA is emblematic through their new brand. I think we're going to see a lot of really interesting revelations about their connections to Big Pharma, and specifically why sometimes you're not sure if it's gonorrhea or non-specific urethritis or one of the other ones. Great to have you back, Ben. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Ben, I just want to say that I want to thank your mother for her work coming out against gonorrhea. I think it's clearly an issue that affects
going back to
countless Americans.
Going back to what I was asking before about speakers, like neither of you asked me about my speakers. So like I'm using the Genelec 8030s now. They're very smooth and analytical, and they're very what in the business they call revealing.
Genelecs, those are hard to get, I believe.
Actually,
they don't come by.
In Europe, they're really easy to get. You just click buy.
In America, because you were posting about them, and I could. They're hard to find.
Yeah, it's because they're from Finland, so I think they're very expensive in America.
I can do a tour of my bookshelf, but that would be more earnest than
I think we're out
this.
of time.
And this.
I think we're gonna have to cut. We're gonna have to cut.
Shall we end on a song?
No, we should just end immediately.
Okay, so any song requests? Okay, bye everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Erik Carter, graphic designer. Ben Miller, historian and board member of the Schwillers Museum in Berlin, co-host of the podcast Bad Gays, for which I designed the identity project. And thank you all for so much for joining us this evening. I think we've had like a really interesting discussion about the intelligence community, graphic design, history.
GG.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Bye. Unless you want to see me play Half-Life Alyx VR game. Okay, thanks, guys.